talk about the very troubling decision that has just come down from the Supreme Court. I want to thank Jayapal Scott, the Executive Director of Latino Rights Project, Cadman Cahill, the Policy and Advocacy Director of the ACLU of Washington, and a number of parents of kids that are impacted by this decision that have been here in the office with me. Let me start by saying to the trans community everywhere that's watching this, I have always stood with you. I will never forgo you. And while this is a very troubling decision today, I want you to know that we are right in there with you for the triumphs and for the joys that are to come when justice is yours. Today, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that Tennessee's SB 1, a ban on gender-affirming care for people under 18, can stand. This is a ruling that is putting a cruel and politically motivated policy over the lives of people. It puts the government between doctors and their patients in Tennessee, and it says that the legislature knows better than a medical professional or a parent. Medical decisions should be made by doctors, patients, and families. It is that simple. It is also a long-standing conservative principle that parents should be able to make decisions about their own kids and that government should not be in those rooms. Access to transgender-related health care is critical, it's medically necessary, and it's often life-saving for transgender people. This kind of health care takes many forms, and it's carefully tailored to the age and the unique needs of each person in consultation with medical doctors, mental health professionals, and in the case of youth seeking care, their parents. Every major medical and mental health association in the United States, representing more than 1.3 million doctors, supports providing this age-appropriate and affirming care. Care that young people will now be denied because of this ruling. And this decision, while it only affects Tennessee, will open other states up to putting similar discriminatory laws into effect. And it's all to score political points. Forcing families to move or to travel just to get the care that their children need is just not right. I want to speak to the American people who may be confused about this issue because there is so much misinformation, disinformation, and hate that's being circulated. So much fear that's being encouraged. What I can tell you is it may be a journey to learn about what gender-affirming care actually is, about the science that has been done for so long on this care, and about the kids who benefit and the entire community that benefits from gender-affirming care. It may be a journey to realize that there's no threat to you from these kids who are literally just such a tiny percentage of people in this country. It may be a journey to realize that we have more to fear from a government that seeks to get into our lives and our decisions than we do of trans kids simply living their lives so that they can fully be who they are. And I want to invite you to learn about this care, to actually look at the studies, to look at why every major medical association has endorsed gender-affirming care, and to ask the questions that you might have. Because it is a journey for people on this issue, as it has been on so many issues throughout the history of our country, from civil rights to marriage equality, now to gender-affirming care. This is a major setback, I'm not going to deny that, but we're not going to let it be more than that. We're not going to let it break our resolve or make us feel powerless or stop our fight. As parents and as advocates, we still have tools in our toolbox to fight back against these Republican intrusions into our personal lives and these anti-trans attacks. And we will continue to use these tools to stand alongside trans people here and in every corner of the country, red or blue. I am proud to be the co-chair of the Trans Equality Task Force in Congress and to be the sponsor of the Transgender Bill of Rights. I am never backing down from this fight because it's worthy and it's right. And with that, let me introduce a parent who has generously agreed to share what she's going through with her family. Skylar.
Hi, my name's Skylar Brett. I'm a mother to two amazing kids. They both, I think, I'm really excited to see what they're going to contribute to this world. And I think the world needs them just like the world's going to need all of our kids to help us through what we're going to face in the future. One of my kids happens to be trans. This means she's terrifyingly likely to become suicidal as she hits puberty if she's not afforded with access to gender-affirming healthcare. She has amazing doctors, and as her mom, it scares me that there might be people other than myself and her doctors making decisions about whether she's able to get the care that she needs. I want to do everything in my power to make sure that she has access to healthcare, and I just want both of my kids to be okay. I really hope that the life-saving care she needs remains available to her and to kids like her, and I really feel for parents and kids in places like Tennessee who now have to face the fact that their kids aren't gonna, they're not gonna be the ones making decisions, and their doctors aren't gonna be the ones making decisions about the care available to their kids. And I really want to thank Representative Jayapal and all the amazing advocates here for everything they're doing to fight for families like mine.
Will you spell your name?
Skylarbrett.
Thank you so much, Skylar. Next, let me introduce the Executive Director of the Lavender Rights Project, an incredible champion on this issue and so many others, Jaylen Scott.
Good afternoon. I'm Jaylen Scott, Executive Director of Lavender Rights Project. My heart is with all of the families here. This is not unexpected, but it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Given the from the government on many communities around this country, including migrants, LGBTQ people, and trans people, this is doubly concerning. Also, given the misogyny and the narratives of Project 2025, which fuels all of this, it should concern us all. Whatever we feel about parents and doctors' ability to choose gender-affirming care for their children, and they should be the people who are choosing care for their children, whatever we feel, we need to know that this is a Trojan horse that opens the door for chipping away the rights for all. This is the government codifying sex discrimination into law. It's concerning, not applying heightened scrutiny and it exempts certain adults in the future, like me also, from access for protection under the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The law in Tennessee is clearly discriminatory. Certain youth have access to specific care based on the sex that they were assigned at birth, and others don't because of the sex assigned at birth. It is a sex discrimination case. I know that many of you are hurting, and many of our community are hurting. The Rights Project asks that you don't panic, especially if you live in Washington State, because we will be one of the last holdouts. We will stand strong. We will hold the wall. But what we can do now is exhibit leadership for the rest of the country and care for our neighbors in other states who might lose access to their care. Let's stay strong and let's fight.
Thank you so much, Jaylen. And now let me introduce the Policy and Advocacy Director for the ACLU of Washington, Cadman Magoo King.
Today's ruling is devastating to their people, their families, and everyone who cares about our constitutional rights. Yet it's important to make clear that this decision does not change the law in states that have not passed bans. And Washington have laws that explicitly protect access to gender-affirming care, and transgender youth will continue to have access to gender-affirming care in Washington. While this is a devastating loss, we still have powerful tools to fight back against the Trump administration's attack on transgender people. There is still a strong body of precedent showing that attacks targeting a minority group based on animus do indeed violate the Equal Protection Clause. As President Trump continues to target transgender people purely motivated by animus and cruelty, we will continue to fight back. And let us be clear that this ruling isn't just about access to care, it also exacerbates a racial justice crisis. Black, Latina, and Indigenous communities have always borne the brunt of medical neglect and are likely to experience disproportionate difficulty accessing gender-affirming care. We must remember this and assure that those who are most impacted are supported and protected when healthcare access is under attack. The ACLU of Washington wants transgender individuals and their families to know that they are not alone in this fight. We will continue to fight alongside community and will advocate for you in the courts, in the legislative bodies, and in the streets until the freedom to be yourself is a reality.
Wonderful. Well, let me just end by saying that this is not a fight that's disconnected from all the other fights that we're having. This is a government that is increasingly authoritarian, that is trying to control our bodies, our access to health care, who's making medical decisions, and of course at the same time stripping away health care from millions of Americans across the country, stripping away access to nutrition and raiding immigrants. These are all connected and they're all about power. And so we are a powerful coalition of we the people that will continue to fight for our country, for our democracy, and for the rights that everyone has to be who they fully are. Thank you all so much, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, if I can ask one. I know for you, this is professional, it's also personal. Could you speak to that a little bit?
You know, I'm not speaking about my personal situation these days because of threats to my family, but I will just tell you it is professional and it is personal. It's also personal to me as a member of Congress that represents families who are experiencing the same kinds of issues and the same kind of fear that I hear from people across the country. And so I think what's important is to recognize that trans people are a tiny percentage of the country and are doing no harm to anyone else. And despite the disinformation, the lies that are being circulated about trans people, I think that we are powerful when we come together in coalition, and when we realize that these attacks are coordinated and are really about the same thing, which is exerting power over us and taking away our rights in a democracy that should be about allowing everyone to contribute their full selves. And so that's, yeah.
And then my other question is, were you surprised by today's decision?
As Jalen said, not surprised, given the makeup of the court and given some of the things that we've seen. But that doesn't mean, and I think it's really important what both Captain and Jalen said about Washington State. We still protect the right for gender-affirming care here in Washington State. There are many states across the country that do that. Of course, we're going to be targeted, but I do think that this is not a settled situation, and that it's a setback, but we will continue to fight to make sure that people are protected. Great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.